the scars don't dictate where we go. They guide us because we know what not to do, or we've learned a better way to do things. And so they don't dictate where we go. So we don't Hey everybody, Dr. Dan here, the Hope Doctor. Wisdom for the Week session. And the title of this session is Joy Beats Happiness Every Time. Now, we're talking about authentic joy. And the authentic joy and hopes, they drive dreams. So if you're a dreamer, if you got a dream out there that you want to accomplish, you need to have authentic hope and authentic joy to follow that through, because pursuing any kind of credible or worthwhile dream is going to take a lot of energy, and that's rooted in joy and hope. But high hopes, that would mean high hopes to kind of spiral us upward and cause us to move forward with our dreams. Don't confuse joy and happiness. Merriam-Webster dictionary, it defines joy as a feeling of great happiness. And I don't agree with that. I think that joy is not just basically a feeling. Joy is inclusive of happiness, but happiness does not necessarily include joy. There are plenty of wealthy, rich, celebrity-type people are not joyous. They have happy circumstances. The alcoholic is happy when he gets a drink. The drug addict is happy when they get a fix, but they're not filled with joy. And that's the kind of thing that I want to emphasize, that there is this difference. And what better way to exemplify that than with you see it modeled, and you see it modeled authentically. So I recently got back from Ghana, West Africa. It's on the lower part of Africa that juts out there on the southern coast. And Ghana is this smaller country, and there were missionaries that were doing a conference there. My pastor and I and another lady from our church were going over there to help train these missionaries, because they don't get much training, they don't have much theology. My pastor was going to cover that, and I was going to cover the leadership components and life skills, those kind of things, for teaching them how to lead, how to manage people, how to take care of themselves emotionally and physically and spiritually. We went in there and we had some delays on the flight, so it was difficult getting there. But we got there, get into this room, and the room was really hot, and I'm thinking, oh boy, this is going to be tough. But it was just that day. Something was going haywire with the air conditioners. But these missionaries, undaunted, they were interested, they were welcoming. And after we got over the initial language barriers, because there were language barriers, these guys, some of them didn't understand any English, and some of them we had to speak slower to get through those language barriers. But it all started working out, and when they didn't understand something, they had this joy of learning that they were intense, and they weren't going to move on until they did understand what we were talking about. The person that is kind of their regional director, he would stop when he would sense they weren't getting something, and then he'd explain it, and then would move on. But the joy of learning, seeing that all week long, I never sensed. I've spoken before hundreds, thousands of people in classrooms, facilitate that kind of thing. And you know when people are bored, when they're checking out and deer in the headlights look, and they're kind of zoned out. That just wasn't the case here all week. These guys, there were 38 men and 2 women, were just zoned in. Not to mention, they came here, and so that's what I would say, the joy of learning. They came here, some of them, 11-hour red-eye bus rides. These were from northern parts of the country, hardships in the sense that these are not comfortable highway rides. These are rides that are over bumpy, dusty, dirty roads. Now, they had air conditioning in the buses, but still, it's a long ride. I've been to Ghana a number of years ago, back in 2004, 2005, and when we were on these buses, yeah, we had air conditioning, but slow and bumpy and traffic and sitting in there in long hours of traffic just makes it not a fun trip. But they kept the joy. They had focus on what they wanted to come for. They wanted to learn. They wanted to connect with these other people. Another thing, there were these guys, there were 3 big rooms, barrack-style rooms, beds all over the floor, bunk beds. Not once did I hear anybody complaining about the quarters being crowded, that kind of thing. And they were at this facility all week long. It wasn't like they had cars and they could leave and go out at night. They didn't. They hung around the facility because it was in the middle of a neighborhood that wasn't close to any big stores or anything. They could walk down the block, walk down the street a little bit, but there was not many places they could go. So they were kind of with each other 24/7 this whole week, and there were no complaints, there were no moanings. That to me is joy, because they knew why they were there. They were at this conference despite all the hardships, because they had an underlying joy that kept that focus, that vigor, and that understanding that, hey, there's a bigger purpose here when I'm at this conference. And oh yeah, they did not have some big showering facility there. There were a few showers that had to be split between these 40 people. So another hardship that we kind of take for granted. Not a lot of bathrooms, that kind of thing. But what I want to emphasize is happiness doesn't get you through that. Happiness, Disney World creates happiness for a few days, but there's plenty of people that go there and they're still depressed. You can't fabricate the joy that they had. And the three of us that came from the States, the most impressive thing to all of us when we were debriefing about this was that their worship. Now, I've been to plenty of services. I've been in this Christian thing a long time, and I've been to services where people kind of fabricate and they get emotional, and it's not real authentic. And I mean, I think most people are sincere, trying their best to be authentic, but sometimes the emotions overcome them. But these guys and these couple of ladies, just authentic joy in worship. I don't think they needed anybody else there in the room, and they would have still been dancing around and having fun and just being thankful and so exuberant. And I want to bottle some of that. I wanted to bring it back with me, and we did. We kind of absorbed out of that. We got far more out of this conference than we gave them. And that joy alone just inspires you to say, what drives them? Now for them, they're missionaries. Jesus drives them. They have a calling. But any of us, when we have a calling, whether that's not your inclination or you have some other things that drive you, get that calling, get that focus, and base it on joy, on a transcendental cause, a significant purpose in life. That's what they had. And for them, that was God and the Lord. So for you, if you choose to not believe that way, that's okay. But you have to have that joy that drives you and says, there's a bigger thing than me here, that what I'm doing. And so be sold out for what you're doing and move forward that way. Now, these missionaries, they had plenty of scars. They had some pretty tough stories behind them, and they still do this. Some of them have been doing this for 10, 20 years. Now, the scars, we all have some scars and some battle wounds that we have if we're doing anything noteworthy. So whatever cause you undertake, there's going to be battles, there's going to be scars and injuries and bumps and bruises. Now, the scars indicate where you've been. We learn from them and we move on, and they kind of guide us into the future, saying, I don't want to make those same mistakes again, especially the big ones. And I think that was the case for these missionaries. But also, the scars don't dictate where we go. They guide us because we know what not to do, or we've learned a better way to do things, and so they don't dictate where we go. So we don't drag along unhappy circumstances. And that's where another thing that comes in here, what we call locus of control. I have another article I wrote on that. Locus of control basically is saying, do outside circumstances control me, or do I internally take charge and move forward and take responsibility? And I think these missionaries did that. They have an internal locus of control. They're driven, they're called, but they choose to come and have joy at this conference, despite sleeping in a room full of snoring and other noisy people, despite having not all the facilities that were very luxurious. Now, it wasn't terrible, but it's still a hardship for a solid week being with all those people. So that joy is what drove them. And that's what I want to emphasize to you. Seek joy, not this happiness feeling like the Webster Dictionary defines it, this feeling of great happiness. It's not. Joy is ongoing, it's deep-rooted. It's more than just a feeling. It's a calling, I think, and it's a vision for something in the future, and a fulfilling high hopes, some good hopes. So I encourage you, go for that calling, go for that dream, but base it on joy, not on happiness or circumstances. So this is helpful to you. Like it, share it, put a comment down there, sign up for my wisdom for the week, so that you get these on a regular basis, and pursue that. Let others know about this too, whether it's on YouTube, sign up on my YouTube channel, or Facebook, or just go to the website and leave your comments. But pass this on to others if they have a dream. And if you are in that phase where you're seeking things and it's kind of tough, just remember, don't base it on happiness. Base it on joy. Get a transcending cause, pursue it, and go for it. So this is Dr. Dan. Know where you're going in life. Become the person you were destined to be, and make a difference in the world.